Are we barreling toward a housing market crash?
Financial disaster could be brewing in the housing market yet again.
Every aspect of real estate is going to get whacked, and I think we're just in the first inning.
You're fearing that the housing market is crashing.
It is crashing.
It is crashing.
How long does this state of real estate last?
To me, that's the bigger question.
The real estate market is crashing. This is something that you've heard quite a bit over the last year, and something that's going to be quite prevalent over the next couple of years. And I think it's time we have an honest conversation about it, because interest rates aren't coming down anytime soon. But what if there is a way to completely pull yourself out of what's happening in the world of real estate? And what if there is a way to break into the Airbnb or the real estate investing game for 2, 3, or 4% interest with $0 out of pocket? I know this sounds crazy, which is exactly why I brought in Pace Morby, the foremost expert in the world of creative financing, to talk about this very thing today. And I promise you, if you give me the next 13 minutes of your time, you are gonna be blown away by the strategies that we talk about at the end of the video, especially if you're hitting a wall right now in your Airbnb or real estate journey and you're out of money and you don't know how to get to your next property. All of this and so much more on today's episode of Raw Built. Is the real estate market crashing?
I don't know. I honestly look at that world and I kind of tune myself out of it. And the reason being is because with creative finance, which is what I primarily focus on, I'm getting 3%, 2%, 4% loans all the time. So whether the market crashes or not, as long as the property cash flows, it's like the same thing with like Airbnb. As long as you buy a great deal in a market that is somewhat insulated from an economic fallout, what do you really care?
Well, I think that almost any deal pencils out when it's 2, 3, 4%. So it's like if you're getting creative deals, and because I educate people in the short-term rental space, like they're always like, what returns do you want? Like, blah, 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 like what's the cash on cash? I'm like, I guess 20% as sort of my standard answer for the sophisticated investor. But honestly, when I got into this, all I wanted was like $1,000 a month from a property.
It is interesting how the phaseology of your thought process has changed. Of like phase one is if I could make $1,000 a month. Then you phase into like the fifth phase, which is like, all right, now I'm deploying actual capital and this is a real business.
It matters, right?
It matters. You're taking money from something else you can put it into, putting it into something else and saying, I got to make a certain ROI on this money. I got to get cash on cash of 20%, which sounds crazy because other people are like, yeah, I'm looking, like private money lenders are like, will you give me 10%? Meanwhile, you're like, yeah, 20% is kind of what I want.
Yeah, and you know, for a long time it was more than that back in the lower interest days. So you're saying you're outside of what's happening in the economy because you're getting such good deals on real estate.
Well, it's not even just a good deal, it's amazing terms. So let's say that you are a seller, I'm the buyer, and you have a property that you own free and clear. I don't care what the economy is doing because I can structure that deal however I want. You're the bank, so I can go to the 4 terms. What are the 4 terms? Purchase price, down payment, interest rate, and length of terms, right? How long they'll let me pay them. If the economy is going poorly or cash flow is down and people aren't renting or Airbnbs are down or whatever else, I can say, okay, seller, in order for me to make money on this deal that I'm gonna buy, I'll give you the purchase price you want, but I need these other 3 things to make sense. So I'm not worried about the purchase price or even the equity of a deal going up or down. I really care about like how skinny can I get into the deal? A lot of times 0 down, probably 20, 30% of the time 0 down. I want a low enough interest rate that my payment makes sense, and I wanna be able to have it, hold it enough time that the property does go up in value and I have a big payday, right?
So what's the most that you'll pay over market value?
5% maybe.
Oh, okay. So you still don't get crazy with
No, I mean, here, let's look at the most expensive deal I've done over market. So there's a 43 unit in Texas that I did. I paid 300 grand over its value, and that was about 10% of its value over ARV.
So it's about $3 million.
$3 million was my purchase price. It was only worth 2.7, but I bought it for 0 down, 4% interest with a 50-year note. So it's like, did I really overpay for that deal? The way I look at it with my interest rate, I'll pay way less on that asset than somebody else.
And the amortization too,
And
right?
the amortization. My payment's so low that on month 1, I was netting $11,000 a month. That's like for a lot of people, you do one deal like that, that's a job killer. It killed their job. You do one deal like that, it's like, who cares? And it's an apartment complex. So what's gonna happen with the economy with that affordable average rent's $1,100 at that apartment? Rent will go up, but even if, let's say that the market crashes and everything falls apart, that affordable rate of $1,100 isn't going anywhere. I'm insulated and I got into the deal. So let's say I bought it for $3 million, the market takes it down to 2.3. If I'm still taking $11,000 a month home, what do I care?
Net cash flow.
Net cash flow, what do I care? I don't, because I know my tenants are gonna keep paying down my $3 million debt, and then it's going to go up in value regardless.
Yeah, so it's almost like, would you rather have gotten the property for 2.5 at 8% interest
all day long
Or-
at what I did.
Yeah, yeah.
And 30% down. Think about me getting into the asset for no money down. I paid closing costs, took over his property. He's now selling me a year and a half after I bought that deal. He's now selling me another 40 units next door, so I'll own the entire complex.
That's crazy.
And it's same terms, 0 down, 4% interest, 50-year terms.
So people hear this and they're like, that's mumbo jumbo, like no seller would ever do that, right? This is something that I hear all the time. So let me ask you this. Someone comes up to you and they say, hey, I'm looking to get into Airbnb, but it's impossible to find deals that work. What do you say?
I would go to your MLS first and foremost, and I would pull seller carryback, seller finance subject to off the MLS. Did you see my Instagram story the other day? My next door neighbor. Check this out. This is so great. This is what's happening all over the country, right, especially right now. Look at this. Look what's on the listing.
Oh, I saw that. That's real.
That's real.
I thought that was
No.
I thought that was like a Photoshop or something.
No, it's not. That's my next door neighbor.
Why didn't you buy it?
It's my next door neighbor. Like, what am I going to do with my next door neighbor's house, right? And it's an HOA that doesn't allow Airbnb. So, but that's sub 2 terms being marketed on the MLS. Right? This is not something that's hidden anymore. And I called the guy. I go, dude, this is so amazing. What are the terms? He goes, is this PACE? I go, yeah. And he goes, dude, I learned how to do this from your YouTube channel.
You've never met your neighbor before?
No, it's Joe Madden.
Okay.
He's the president of the Chicago Cubs. Like,
Oh, like the Madden.
yeah, like he's infamous. So I called his agent, and his agent told me, he's like, I learned how to do sub 2 on your YouTube channel. I took it to my broker. The broker's like, yeah, that's legal. We can try it. They get an offer in like 1 day. Done.
Wow. So you said you would go to the MLS and you would pull these things.
I
What
would
do you
pull-
mean by that? Do you actually go and type in keywords
Yep,
on like
so there's
Redfin?
keywords you can click on, like seller carryback, seller finance, subject to terms, or creative finance, and it'll filter out houses. In Maricopa County, where I'm at right now, we have like roughly 10,000 houses on the market. A little over 300 of them are on seller finance. Right now, 300 are on the MLS. So I don't even have to deal with finding a seller that's motivated enough to do seller finance. And the majority of the time, they're nicer houses. The difference between subject to and seller finance is pain is subject to, gain is seller finance.
Because they can call the shots on
They
seller
call the
finance.
shots.
Sub 2, they got to get out.
And they're shooting for a higher purchase price. That's what, in their mind, a seller selling on seller finance is like, I want to win by selling at a higher number. I don't care really about the down payment. Why? They don't care so much about the down payment because when they get a big chunk of money as a down payment, it's a taxable event for them. It's not a good idea for them to take a big down payment. As long as it's structured in a way that protects them, you and I could find in Houston right now on the MLS, where do you want to buy primarily?
The Heights. The Heights in Houston, Texas.
The Heights in Houston,
Yeah.
Texas.
So I bet you in a week we could find a seller finance deal. Now,
I actually just closed on one. It's like a couple minutes from my house. Same thing. The guy had that flag over his
seller finance,
it
seller
said
offer terms.
owner finance.
Boom.
And out in plain sight,
Right.
in the best neighborhood in Houston.
So 5 years ago, this was my goal. My goal was, I wrote this down. I said, I want to normalize the conversation around creative finance. I want it to be normal. And in my vision, I drew a sign of an MLS sign or a realtor sign saying owner finance or sub 2 terms on the actual flag. And the first one I ever saw was my next door neighbor. And he says, I learned it from your YouTube channel. He says, you are normalizing the conversations for agents. My broker was like totally open to it. So it's happening. More and more people are doing it. It's becoming more common, obviously because of interest rates. But what's going to happen is when interest rates come back down, I will still continue to buy the way I've always bought, but it will no longer be the hot topic of the day.
Yeah, but it's still very enticing because you don't need to show credit, credentials, tax returns, anything like
Nothing.
that.
Yeah,
Right?
I've never had anybody ask me for my credit. I don't even know what my credit score is. I have 0 mortgages in my name, and we've got, outside of partnerships, we've got about 1,400 properties in my portfolio that are just me.
So give me the blueprint here. Let's start from the beginning to the end. Airbnb, I want to get in. I don't have money.
Okay, MLS.
MLS or like Redfin.
Redfin's good too.
And you can just type in keywords?
Yep, you can go to like landwatch.com is one of my favorite. Landwatch.com right now has 13,000 seller finance properties.
Is that just land?
Nope, it's land, RV parks, mobile home parks, apartments, cabins, houses. It has a lot.
Out in plain sight.
Out in plain sight. Landwatch, there's a filter. You click on owner finance. It filters to 13,000 listings right now are available. You call them up. What are your terms? Will you do 0 down? Let's say that you find the property, the seller says, I want 10% down and I want to close in 30 days and I don't have any money. Well, the good thing is I don't need credit. They're not going to check my credit and I don't need credentials or a W-2 or any of that stuff. But what if I need 10% down and I need money for furniture? Well, all you do is go to maybe one of your students in your program and go, who wants to partner with me on this deal that's got some cash? And I would bring that person in as either 50-50 or 60-40, depending on who has responsibility after the fact. And I would bring a money partner in and let them shoulder the burden of the down payment and the furniture, and I'm in the deal, no money.
So interesting. So almost like I train these bird dogs to go find the seller finance deals out in plain sight,
Right.
which isn't even getting crazy with PropStream or like you can literally just go to the MLS. They find these deals, they negotiate it. They go to my host campers.
Yep.
They say, hey, I found this insane deal. I negotiated this. I need someone to bring in $10,000, $20,000 for furnishings.
Yep.
I'll bring in 10K or 20K for the down payment, 50-50 partners.
Yeah, so like I have a student named Elena Tang. She's allergic to talking to sellers, doesn't want to talk to agents, always feels inferior with her real estate knowledge. But in her first year of learning creative finance, she bought 20 sub-2 deals. How did she do that? She just went to other people that were finding the deals and said, I'll pay you a finder's fee for bringing the deal to me. Where did that money come from? She went to another student and said, do you want to be my money partner on the deal? You bring the money.
10% or what?
No, she says, you bring 100% of the money, down payment and furniture, I'll give you 50% of the deal. So she bought 20 properties in her first year, like 13 months, and she owns 50% of 20. So effectively she owns 10.
That's cool, man. So if someone wanted to do this, they're like, I'm gonna go hard at this. I want to get into Airbnb for zero money, doing the strategy you just talked about. What's a realistic goal cash flow wise they could be at in 1 year if they're like, I'm serious about this, I'm gonna give it everything I got?
If you're gonna do like short-term rentals, which is what you focus on, I always tell my people on short-term rental, you should plan on like $1,000 to $1,500 a month net.
Love it.
So let's just say 1,000.
Very simplistic. That's
Simplistic.
my strategy
Well,
as well.
who do you think I learned from?
Stop.
So I go, all right, where do you want to be? And I would say most people are like, if I could quit my job within 24 months, I'd be happy. So I tell people, I go, look, reverse engineer. If your job's paying you $7,000 a month, then you're probably not taking home $7,000 a month. But it's the same thing with your cash flow. You bring in $7,000, you're gonna have some taxes to pay on that.
Well, you got if you're materially participating on it, you do the SCR loophole and you get a cost segregation through SCR.
Then you can wipe out your active income, right?
Then you can knock it all out. I mean,
There
it's
you
a
go.
beautiful thing.
So what I would do is I'd reverse engineer and go, can I do one a quarter is what I tell people. You should be able to do one of these a quarter if you have a full-time job and you're a mom of 2 kids. Elena Tang, full-time job, mom of 2 kids, married, takes care of her husband, does all the things, bought 20 in 13 months. So let's say you just did 8 in 2 years. Do one a quarter. That's an extra $1,000 of cash flow every single quarter. Very simple. And I would say in 24 months, most people should be able to quit their job.
Dude, we got to set this up because your crew, obviously a lot of them like to hold on to the best deals, but is there a need within even the sub-2
yeah.
guys that come into host campers saying
in Houston, we've got Jeff Smith, one of my leaders in Houston. I just bought a deal in Houston from him yesterday, and then in my Bigger Pockets class, raised the money live. And it's like, you could go to your host campers and go, let's set up a conduit where the sub-2 communities is bringing deals and you guys are buying them, and then your students are partnering with each other because you have students, I know you do, that want to buy the deals and manage the deals, and then you have other students that are like, I want to, but I also don't want to manage them.
Yeah, they don't have the time, but they got the capital.
But I have the cash. I'm
Yeah.
a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm an engineer, I'm a whatever. I'll bring the cash to the deal, and if I can participate in it, I can also get my tax
Dude,
write-off.
I love this, man, because I've been teaching people the more obtainable way lately, the rental arbitrage side of it, and I like it. It's good for establishing cash flow, but this method is you actually get to own the asset.
Yeah.
You just can't beat appreciation.
Yeah, I told you a while ago, I know arbitrage was never really like your biggest favorite thing,
Not really, yeah.
but I know that your audience really is thirsty for it. And I'm like, Rob, when are you gonna start talking about it? And you're like, soon. So I know why you're talking about it, and I know how it's beneficial for the people that are looking for the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think most people that do arbitrage 3-4 years down the road go, crap, I wish I was just learning what Abasola was doing in the very beginning.
Yeah, they're like, I gave myself a job, the
Yeah.
leases are over, the job is over, and now I've still got no portfolio.
I think people that primarily, and think about this, I think people that go for the arbitrage method versus just true ownership, they go and acquire the skills that are required to do arbitrage instead of acquiring the skills of negotiating just a little bit better.
Right, because you still have to negotiate so much of the arbitrage.
You
but
still do.
You don't get to keep it. Honestly,
It's just a
probably
couple
harder.
of tweaks.
It's probably harder to talk a landlord into it, dude. It's like 100 landlords to get one yes. So.
But if you're looking for somebody who's already willing to do seller finance, you're not having to negotiate really, other than saying, I need to make sure it works for my money, my income, and then I can do the deal. The arbitrage guy, it's like, they might sell the property in 24 months and you got that furniture and whatever else. I mean, you know this, you and I have had these conversations. Both model work, but at the end of the day, ownership is key.
you get to keep the house in the other one. Well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find a deal on the MLS. I'm gonna bring it to you.
Please, let's partner
I
on
want you
one.
to fund it, and we'll do a
In the
case study
Heights.
for that'll be hard. That is like the best neighborhood in Houston.
That means we're gonna find one in the Heights.
We'll see you at HostCon in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Where can people learn more about you if they want to learn more about you?
Rob Abasolo and I did a YouTube video on his channel a couple of months ago. Go watch that. It's phenomenal.
I think that one's got like 45,000 views on it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Like that was still cranking. So, I love you, dude.
You're the man.
You're my hero.
You're my hero. That's my favorite watch of all time.
Yes, I thank you very much. You're my favorite guy of all time. How about that?
Thank you, brother.
You also have a pretty good one too, though.
It's not a Rolex though.
I put your hand on the lens and then I'll call it over. Bop.